Here is your 8.8 measurement and data independent practice. So it says use the line plot below to answer the following questions. So I'm just imagining if I went into my garage and I found 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different containers of paint that were all the same color, so I wanted to use them all for one project. This is the available paint up here, and this is the unit, which is going to be in gallons. So between 0 and 1, I've got all these different measurements, but they're actually in from smallest to greatest order. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 tick marks, which lets me know that this is broken up into 8s. So I'm going to actually get a different color. I'm going to use my red pen and mark them in terms of 8s, so I already have a common denominator. So this will be 1/8. 1/4 is equivalent to 2/8. This will be 3/8, and 1/2 is equivalent to 4/8. This is going to be 5/8, 6/8. I could keep going, but it doesn't really matter because there's no more points over here. The reason why I did this is because on number 1 it says how much paint is available to paint 6 bedroom walls. When we're adding and subtracting with fractions, you have to have a common denominator. So right off the bat, I just got myself a common denominator here. So I'm going to do my equation of 1/4 plus, now I'm going to save myself a step, and I'm just going to say 3, 6, 9. I already added the 3/8 3 times, which is 3/8 plus 3/8 plus 3/8, or that's going to be equal to, oh, and over here I needed to write this as 2/4 or 2/8 instead. So 9/8. 2/8 plus 9/8. Then over here I have 1 that's at 4/8. And I have the last one that's at 5/8. So I'm going to add up all of my numerators, and we know when we're adding with fractions that the denominator stays the same. So 2 plus 9 is going to be equal to 11, plus 5 is going to be equal to 15, plus another 5 is going to be equal to 20. And I don't want to leave it as 28. I'm going to rewrite this as a mixed fraction. So I'm going to do 8 divided into 20. 8 can go into 20 2 times because 8 times 2 is 16. So when I subtract, I'm left with 4. So this is going to be the whole amount that I have, so 2, and the remaining amount is 4 out of the 8 here. So there's 2 and 4/8 gallons that are going to be usable for our paint project. On number 2, it says each wall is 12 feet wide by 7 feet tall. So right off the bat, I know that 12 feet by 7 feet is going to give me the area of each of the walls, and we'll do that in just a moment. 1 gallon of paint will cover 400 square feet. How many gallons of paint will be needed to cover 6 walls? So like I had said before, I need to figure out that each wall's area is going to be equal to my 12 times 7. 12 times 7 is equal to 84 feet squared because we're talking about the area of the one wall. Now, I need to figure out how many paint we need for 6 walls. So if 84 feet squared is for one wall, we need to figure out what the total area is for 6 walls. So if I had 6 walls, I would add 84 plus 84 plus 84 plus 84 6 times, or repeated addition is known as multiplication. So I'm going to do 84 times 6. 6 times 4 is equal to 24. And 6 times 80 is 200 or 480. So the total amount for this 6 walls is going to be 504 feet squared. So are we finished for number 2? Let's look and see. How many gallons of paint will be needed to cover 6 walls? Well, I know how much the area of the 6 walls is, but I don't know how much gallons I need to purchase or how many gallons I'm going to need about. So I'm going to write off 1 gallon is equal to 400 square feet. And we can do this by doing feet and to the second power to represent the 2 dimensions. If I have 2 gallons, that's going to be equal to 800 feet. So I know I need more than 1 gallon, but less than 2 gallons. Now the thing that's nice is that this is broken into 400. So if I wanted to know what half a gallon was, well, that would be half of 400, and half of 400 is 200 feet squared. I just want to double check to make sure of a few other numbers. So if I wanted 1/4 of a gallon, that would be 400 divided by 4, or 100 feet squared. So I need 504 feet squared. Now it's almost okay for us to get 1¼ gallons of paint, but the only problem is that there's 4 square feet that still wouldn't be painted. So altogether, I'm going to want to order or use 1½ gallons of paint. So here we kind of did a guess and check to find our answer. So our answer is 1½ gallons are needed. Okay, and then let's look at number 3. Determine if there is, let's start over. Determine if there is enough paint or if more paint will need to be purchased. Enough paint or if more paint will need to be purchased. Well, up at the top, it said that we had 2 4/8 paint available, and we needed 1 1/2. How much extra paint is there, or how much paint will need to be purchased? Explain how you know. So once again, we know we had 2 4/8 to start off with, and we're trying to figure out the difference. When we figure out the difference, that's a subtraction equation. So here I need to do 2 4/8 minus 1 1/2 is going to be equal the amount of paint left over. So when we're adding and subtracting with fractions, we need a common denominator, which is this bottom number here. So 8 and 2 are obviously not the same, but I can multiply 1 and 2 both by 4 to get a common denominator of 8. So my new equation is going to be 2 4/8 minus 1 4/8 is going to equal the amount of paint left over. 2 minus 1 is equal to 1, and 4 minus 4 is equal to 0. So I don't need to write 0/8, that's just unnecessary. So P is equal to 1, which is going to be representing of 1 gallon will, and I'm going to make this so it doesn't look like an I, 1 gallon will be left over. And in your explanation, you would say, I have this much, and I used this much, so the remaining amount, or P, is going to be equal to 1. And this is your independent practice for 8.8.